Welcome to Mishna study Masechet Eruvin Perek Aleph Mishnah. Hey, over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss the material and shape of the crossbeam. So it's really continuing last Mishnah. Actually, the opening line really seems to be according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. It is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yehuda is going to continue with the first line, and then according to Harambam, the second and third statement of the Mishnah is really according to everyone, right? You could have read this according to the Yehuda as well, but according to Rambam, the way to read this is according to everyone. So let's go. Let's say this crossbeam was made out of straw or reeds. Now it's not strong enough to hold a brick, right? So the Yehuda allowed it. What is it? We view it as if it's like metal. So whose opinion is this? This is not Tanakama's opinion. This is only according to the Yehuda, who said it doesn't have to be strong enough to hold a brick. Rather, we can look at it, we can view it as if it could hold, as if it's metal, and as if it could hold a brick. Akuma, let's say it was bent, right? It was bent out of shape. We'll view it as if it is straight, right? This is according to everyone, according to Rambam. Right? Even Tanakama would agree to this. Agula, let's say it's round, right? It's not a square, it's just a rounded rod going across. We view it as if it is squared. Right? If it's round, it can't hold a brick. We view it as if it's squared. Now, if, now how do we figure out the size of this? And if it's rounded, if it's a rod, how do we know if it's a tefach wide? So you could actually check. You check the circumference of it. If the circumference of it is 3 tefachim going around, you measure around is 3 tefachim, then we know that the diameter, the width of it, is 1 tefach. Right? It's a 3-to-1 ratio. Now today, right? I mean, we know it's not 3-to-1. It's really, the correct ratio is pi. Right, 3.14, etc. Right, it goes on to 1, and Harambam addresses this. Right, and Harambam is over here and is really some of his greatest pieces. He really speaks about math over here, and he goes into it, and he says, "I want you to know," and I'm going to read this over here because I think it's just important because his conclusion is important as well. As I want you to know that the ratio between the diameter of a circle and the circumference of a circle is unknown. And it's unknown not because of our ability, is because the actual number is an infinite decimal place. Rambam says this. It's an infinite decimal place. And not because some fools think that we can't figure it out. No, we actually, it just goes on forever. Actually, I think right now, 2022, they came out to 100, what was the number? I think it was 100 trillion decimal places, of to pi itself, right? Whereas once, only a few years ago, it was only up to 64, trillion decimal places. Now they added it was 100 trillion decimal places. Okay, right? But the point over here is that it's unknown, just it's an infinite number of decimal places. So it goes on forever, and people have written books on this. Now, if we're going to round it, it's about a seventh, right? It's 3 and a seventh, right? If you actually do that number, it comes out to 3.1428, etc. And it goes on. What's pi? Pi itself, the actual number of pi, is 3.14159, and it goes on, a little longer. This was actually discovered really around 250 BC by Archimedes, a Greek mathematician, and yeah, now the point over here is that, again, it's all rounded. And what's Harambam's point? He goes, because it's a musag, because it's something that will forever be rounded, Chazal did the same thing. And they said, if anything has a circumference of 3, it has a diameter of 1. So because the number itself is always going to be rounded, because the decimal place is an infinite number, so Chazal did the same thing, and they just rounded to the whole number. Instead of rounding to 3.14, as we speak today in 2 decimal places, they rounded to 1. And they relied on this in all the, and what they needed to whenever they measured things in Torah, and they use this halacha. right? So what's interesting, according to Rambam, is it wasn't something that Chazal didn't know. Right? It wasn't something that they actually thought it was a 1-to-3 ratio. No, they knew it was a 1-to-pi ratio, right? 3.14, etc. But because that number goes on forever, they also rounded, and they rounded to the nearest whole number. Right? This is really Harambam in his element. It's really great to read. You can look at it inside, enjoy it, and appreciate it.